crossed over with these little like maritime like knots and things on them, and
Are you talking
the
about San Marcos?
carpet. Yeah, the
Yeah,
carpet in the middle has this. It's like a wool carpet that they have had.
we are live now, by the way. But please continue. I just letting everybody know.
Oh, yeah, they have this wool carpet that's pretty much like inlaid into the carpet that's already there, and then they have the blazing star,
Oh
and the
yes.
altar isn't. I don't think it's quite center of the line. I think it's a little offset because it's just off of the blazing star.
Hmm.
But they had the lodge building, lodge room a little messed up because they had some chairs in there for the presentation that we went to go see. So it may sit normally in the middle. I don't really know. Um, but yeah, it was great. It
I've
was
always
really
heard really good things about that lodge. Like it's really nice.
yeah
Sorry I couldn't be there.
yeah.
I
No,
really wish I could have went. How was the presentation itself?
the presentation was amazing. The cult or the mysteries of Mithras
Mm-hmm.
is really deep. I mean, there he just basically just scratched the surface. There is so much to that that is has so many similarities to like common day religions now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, he talked a lot about this thing called the Tauroctony. That's the Mithras guy who is like severing the cow, and his head is looked back over the shoulder like that, and he's on top of the cow. And then as he's cutting the throat, there's blood dripping down. There's a snake and a dog lapping the blood up. And then there's a scorpion with its pinchers on the testicles of the bull. And then as he's looking back, he's kind of looking back over this way, which I'm backwards. Like it would actually, he would be like, like this,
Mm-hmm.
looking over his shoulder like that in the picture or in the Tauroctony. And the over here in this corner would be like the sun, or they called it, oh, what was it?
Posting a link to that picture you're talking about in chat for anyone that's watching. That's in the Zoom here if you want to look at it. So what is the significance of this Troctony though? Like what is it?
Soul, he called it Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus in the corner over here, and then Luna was over here. And then they had these two little like twin guys, and one of them was holding a torch going upward, and another one was holding a torch going downward. And there was just all this stuff about. There's a raven on the tail of that was like eating the seeds of wheat that was off of the tail of the bull.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of that has to do with what they were thinking of. It has a lot to do with this, like the zodiac.
Mm.
Because if you look at the ring of the zodiac, the the, the zodiac signs, all the stars,
Yeah.
they are in like a band across. They're in a straight line. They're not just kind of all over. They're in an exact straight line all the way, loop like a belt all the way around the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys thought that I think they thought the Earth was flat, and they also thought that the celestial sphere was rotating around them, and they thought that souls came through from out there, came through all the, they call them glowing orbs, which was the actual like planets like Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and they had to travel through these and gain knowledge in order to become a human. It was really interesting, like all this. There's so much to that. I mean, we could talk for days on all the stuff that's involved with that.
I think that can also go tied to the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life of Kabbalah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which every or Sephirot is also a planet. So it's kind of the same, another language, but same idea, I guess.
Yeah.
It's weird how it all ties together, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as you're talking about it, like I said, I put a link to like a relief describing what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and there's absolutely I'd have to look at it like with a clear image, but you definitely have Scorpio, you definitely have Taurus. Um, it really just I was trying to make out some other things.
Those two are the exact opposite across from each other
Hmm.
on the zodiac ring.
Yes, that's yes,
Um,
that's true. It's a very good point. But like I have another one pulled up, and they actually have like a zodiac circle around it, but it's really wore out, so it's hard to make out. But yeah, right by the bull, on the circle itself, you have Taurus, and then like you're saying, directly across on the other end, the other side of the circle, that's where the scorpion is, but also you got Scorpius right beside it. So that is very interesting. I like that.
yeah, it was pretty wild. Um, yeah, it was good, really, really good. I've got a lot of little rabbit holes that I'm gonna get to go travel down because I made a lot of notes and things. And I haven't had time to even digest any of what I've just told you guys. That's just kind of what I remembered.
Hmm.
I'm sure Daniel can remember different parts. And me and Daniel Dutton, we had a really great time getting to know each other because it's a 4 hour drive, and so we got to know each other really well. And that was probably the one of the cooler parts of the trip was that. But yeah, yeah,
That's
it was a good time.
that's very cool, man. I'm glad you went and did that, and I'm sorry I couldn't go there with you, but it sounds like it was. I figured if it was going to be at San Marcos Lodge, it was going to be really worth your time. So I'm glad you went.
Yeah, there are 7 orders to the cult of Mithras or mysteries of Mithras. Um, it's and they have like like almost like a tracing board on the floor of some of these um, temples that they worshipped in, and I forget the Mithraean temples,
Hmm.
and some of them have like the designs on the floor, and there's 7 of them, and one of them's raven, then it goes to bridegroom, then soldier, then Perseus, then sunrunner, and then finally father.
Hmm.
And he talked about all the different types of people that were members of this. It went from about 500 BC to about 500 AD, and they basically fizzled out after the Christian religion kind of. And there's a lot of similarities in the Christian religion to this,
Hmm.
um, to this guy Mithras. Um, they're
Well, did it fizzle? Did it fizzle out, or was it pushed out by the Romans?
Yeah.
Because
So
once the Romans came in and decided, oh, well, we're going to be Christian, well,
Hmm.
then they kind of
Well,
it fizzled a lot of things out.
they have
yeah,
discovered underground temples to Mithras. So there was. You're right. It was definitely pushed out, and it became more like your classic cult. Like it was like underground kind of thing.
yeah.
However, I don't know many of the details of Mithras. It's been quite a while, but you mentioned the similarities, and I'm willing to bet um, classic classic early church move. A lot of those aspects of Mithras probably got incorporated into early Christianity, and
Yeah.
also since Mithras was so widespread at that time, it was probably just heavily influenced anyway by the people that were kind of converted over.
So I was watching another video today on the parallels of the story of Mithras versus Christianity. And so Mithras was born of a virgin.
Hmm.
He was born in a cave on December 25th. The birth was witnessed by 3 shepherds, and the child was visited by 3 Persian magi. Sound familiar?
I might have heard the
There's
story.
a lot of cool similarities. But, yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah, I'd like to dive more into that. There's also been pointed out that there's quite a few similarities with the Egyptian belief system and Osiris and many similarities, and not only just Egypt, but also Nordic. I think it was Odin who was hung from a tree for 3 days, and there's quite a few similarities in many of these belief systems. So it's very interesting to kind of like. I feel like sometimes like that. You see that meme and that guy, he got the wall. He's like the conspiracy theory. He's got the yarn connected everything together, but they all connect together somehow. So it's just a matter of finding out where it's coming from.
I mean, I think it's because at one point, if we follow history, um, the Council of Nicaea, that's what they exactly try to do. Is like blend everything in just one religion. That it was Christianity at that time. That's when it really born Christianity. Like they grab from every single, because Roman they just want to keep conquering land.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe. I don't say that's the truth, right? But like when they try to put everything together, it's like, okay, we're gonna agree in let's say that one school came from the sun, worship to the sun, right? And the other one to the flame, the other one, so they try to blend everything in just one religion. And that's a lot of similarity that we see even in Egypt, Hermetism, Kabbalah, uh, Mithraism, also Dionism.
Mm-hmm.
Those words are really bad for me to pronounce in English, but I think you
Yeah.
got the
Yeah,
idea.
the Dionysian.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that, because there's probably some truth to that, with because the Romans did conquer so much. The area was so vast that, yeah, they to have their own you know nut that they can call theirs, they had to incorporate the cultures of all these different pagan uh pagan roots. And pagan just meaning country dwellers. People don't realize that's what pagan means. So everyone in Goliad is a bunch of pagans. But that's basically what it was. So there are these country dwellers that that had their own belief systems, and based on culture and what was taught to them from mouth to ear. And then here comes along some people that are writing stuff down and forcing their will on everybody else. And yeah, that's an interesting thought. I bet there's a lot of validity to what you're saying there.
Yeah, the Dionysian artificers. Um, they I was actually looking over some stuff in a book earlier today, but it made me think, and I can never find it again, so I don't think the website's up. But it had a link to what was basically like an older version of the catechism that was used probably like in Europe at one point. And they were, it specifically mentioned where did Freemasonry originate, and of course it mentioned like King Solomon. And it's like, well, what happened after King Solomon? And like, well, we became the Dionysian artificers. Like that's what came next. And then it links to like our modern lineage and stuff like that. I'm really heavily kind of summarizing what this was saying, but it attempts to link some of our heritage, some of our history to the Dionysian artificers, if I get that word out tonight. So I always think it's interesting when that word comes up, when people start talking about the Dionysians, because I just perk my ears up a little bit, because it's very I don't know. I like to try to connect the dots. I don't know that I believe that there's any feasibility to that, but it's still interesting.
Justin, we should not AI the AI. We should not attempt to AI the AI.
Okay.
So yes, if you don't want to try to explain what the AI came up with, then yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Got you.
Just kidding.
but there's definitely a common thread, like what Gene's talking about, and I don't know that. So there's two trains of thoughts I have on what y'all are hitting on there, is that either it all comes, like there was some common ground, like a Roman Empire that kind of integrated a lot of ideas, but that still doesn't really account for like some of these beliefs that are so far apart, like Rome didn't really have a whole lot of influence on. And so I think more feasibly is that you have these systems, these belief systems that are they're growing independently, but they're growing from the same facts, if that makes sense. Like there's something.
We can call it maybe Alejandria, the same hub where those ideas came from. Like,
Yeah, like the same. Yeah, the same. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Really.
and I'm not saying, I didn't say that the Romans came up with this stuff. I said that they got it from the different cultures that they conquered.
Yeah.
They didn't come up with any of it. And so you could have something that's completely different up in England, where they conquered last, to down to Egypt, which was one of the first areas that they hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't trying to say that the Romans came up with anything.Ey're very far from original on anything.
Oh yeah,
they
definitely.
just know how to conquer. They're the original.
Yeah.
They're the original.
but it's like at one point all of
Destroyers.
those tied together, I guess.
Well, and to build on what Dennis is saying, they were really good at building upon what the belief systems already were too,
Mm-hmm.
right? They would go in and go like, "Hey, you believe this? Cool. Well, here's this next thing, right? Do this, do this, do this." And that was part of what they were talking about last night at the presentation with the mysteries of Mithras, or the cult of Mithras as well. Is they were really great at like saying, "Hey, here's this. Now take this and add this to it," right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the sun god and all of that with the Romans before that. And then I fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole on YouTube today of, Christians carving crosses and all the like a lot of these Greek and Roman sculptures too, right? Just kind of imposing their beliefs upon what was already there.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, it just got absorbed into it as well. So it's really interesting to see how that happened over time. But Justin, we all know you're trying to go with the ancient aliens thing, the Atlantis.
Dude,
the
that's
giants of
my
Atlantis
long
went
game.
out and,
Come on.
did all that. Come on with your Graham Hancock stuff.
Man, I'm down with Atlantis.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, on some level, Atlantis is real. And I agree with aliens too. I just don't know that we have any right here, right now.
I got it right here, Gene. I'm doing research for a presentation. I think it was a joke online, but I think it's accurate. The joke was like, "Are you even a man if you don't spend at least a little bit of time thinking about the Roman Empire every day?" And so
I've heard that said before as well. Oh my gosh!
I'm not trying to diminish the Roman Empire, but the only thing that they did originally, and they did well originally, was warfare. Everything else they stole and maybe improved upon, but they were completely unoriginal with everything else. Their architecture and everything was Greek. Their belief system, it originated from Greek. So even their religion, well, I guess that ties in a belief system, right? But they took that from the Christians, and then everywhere they went, they would integrate wherever they went to try to. It's one thing to take over a place forcefully, right? But you have to maintain that control, and to do that, you have to have some kind of common ground, I think. And so that's why you would see that with Rome. And so, and plus, honestly, if you can take a place over, if you can control a man's heart, it's easier than to hold him at sword point. And so I think that goes a long way, and I think they figured that out too. No, by no means an insult to Rome.
So he talked a lot about the Roman soldiers' lives as well. So like whenever they were brought up into being a Roman soldier, like they were with a group of guys that they were they served in the military for 16 to 25 years of their life.
Mm-hmm.
They were not allowed to marry, I think, from where they came from, but they, from what Daniel was telling me, is they were allowed to
Yeah, that's how they integrated the Romans into all these other populace by taking on the wives of the land that they conquer.
Yeah. And their afterlife, they believe there was 3 different afterlives. There was like a Elysium, which was like paradise type, and that was designated for people that were badasses. Either they were really good Roman soldiers, or they were really smart philosophers, or some kind of official or whatever. And then there was like this regular kind of boring type nothingness of field of flowers that they were just all gray flowers, and it was just nothing ever happened. And then there was like a
eternity of business meeting, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going, please.
Yeah. No, that's kind of what he was talking about, is the life of the soldiers, and he said there's a lot to that, and they pretty much stayed together whenever they were brought into a group. That group stayed together for like 16 to 25 years, and they were bonded.
That is interesting.
A lot of Roman soldiers were the in that mysteries of Mithras, that they believed in that, or they were members of it or whatever. There was also like merchants, and there was also slaves, city officials, like the government type people, and yeah. But it was all men as well.
Mm-hmm. How long was the presentation he gave?
He talked for a good hour. And he had a lot of different pictures, and he talked a lot about the earth and the stars, and how the rotation of the earth, and every 26,000 years the earth kind of wobbles.
Mm-hmm.
That, and you get the different ages from the different so there was the age of Aquarius, and then the age of Pisces, and then the age of Taurus, and all that. So as the earth kind of wobbles and rotates around in 26,000 years, he talked a lot about that. Talked a lot about how the sun, so if you're like facing north and you look at, they all believed that they were on a flat earth, right? And the stars rotated in a counterclockwise circle around where the North Star was. I forget what it's called. But basically, if you were to speed it up in fast motion and fast forward, it would have circles. And the circle would get bigger and bigger and bigger until you got to the celestial equator, and then on the south end, it would get smaller and smaller and smaller to the south end.
Man, I got to recreate that in one of my rooms. I'm gonna have to get one of those lights and just make it a disco light, and just boom. That would be awesome. That'd be cool to see.
The band of the zodiac is, I believe he said, it's in the path of where the sun is, where the sun goes up and then back down, in the path of how we see the sun go up from east to west. It's in, I guess they call it the vernal equinox, and then to the south side, it's kind of in there, is the band of the zodiac. So he talked a lot about that. He had a lot of pictorials and things to try to help explain. It was really good. Like,
was that John that gave that talk?
Yeah, John Tolbert. Yeah.
Oh my
What was the
gosh!
talk
I wish I
exactly?
could have been there.
Like, what was the name of the talk? Because it sounds like he talked about a lot of different things.
Does it matter? Because he'll start in one
No.
place and he'll end somewhere that you just don't expect.
Well, I
And
mean, that's how it is when you're talking to
his
him.
brain is such a freaking complex mastermind. It really is. I wish I knew half the stuff he knows.
Well, and he said it was kind of more of an overview of what he was trying to give us, so like just the highlights. And even then, it was like, man, that was pretty deep, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The way he talks, though, it really sticks in there. Like he made it sound very, rudimentary. Like he made it sound easy for me to understand. Because he had pictures and things to kind of help explain things and the way he talked, and it was good. It was really, really good.
That's very interesting that you're talking about the ages and right and the rotation of the ages, and that's one of the things that we can see even when Moses was uh right coming down the mountain with the tables and he break the first tables. He grabbed all the gold, right, that they already built a bull and where they're worshiping the bull.
Mhm.
So that's the reason when they came up with that image, it was a bull because at that time it was on Taurus, the age of Taurus, and the same thing can happen with when Jesus was preaching, right? Most of the time he's talking about the end of the ages, not necessarily the end of the world, and it's a confusion over there. So that's the the transition from Pisces to Aquarius.
Well, don't
So
forget also that the early Christians used the sign of the fish as a symbol for Christianity. I mean, you're
right,
absolutely right. Like
hmm
and before that was Leo, I believe,
Leo,
and they believe that the Sphinx was actually a lion at one point because it would have been facing the constellation Leo as it rose, or maybe sat, one of the two. It was facing that on the horizon at one point. So yeah, you're spot on, man. You're absolutely right. But who knows what Aquarius will look like, right?
right.
Well, cool. This is good conversation, man.
It's going to be the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius.
Yeah. I was thinking about that song.
I think everybody was thinking about that song as soon as you said it, just going.
Cool. So what else is on everybody's mind tonight? I'll be at Zern Lodge in Holland, Texas. Not at Holland Lodge, but Zern Lodge, Saturday, with some other brothers. I'll be giving a presentation over a very superficial, kind of like you're talking about with John's presentation. Like you got to be, you don't want to you want to water your garden, right? But you don't want to flood it. So we're going to be going pretty superficially over astrology and talking about links with Freemasonry and different aspects of Freemasonry. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. So if anyone's in the area, if you want to come, it'll be good.
I would shoot over, but I'll be in New Mexico.
When is their session actually going to start?
Thursday. Well, Thursday we meet for dinner.
Mhm.
Well, hors d'oeuvres and drinks and stuff. Get together, hang out, and then Friday morning session starts, and then we have the Grandmaster's dinner Friday evening, and then Saturday session ends.
Okay.
And then we all just hang out until Sunday, and then go home.
New Mexico has some good things going for it as far as Freemasonry goes. That's a good jurisdiction over there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt when you have, people like Steve Omegar as your Grand Master.
Mhm.
I mean, that, down to earth brothers that really care about the craft. Everything they say and do is all about the craft. It has nothing to do with, political ambitions or anything like that. It's all about the craft. It's all about Blue Lodge Masonry.
Did you
And
see Most Worshipful Omegar at Grand Lodge, Texas Grand Lodge?
no, I did not. I was a little tied up.
I saw him briefly in the what's the area, like the outside? What's that called? Like the foyer, I guess.
Mhm.
We talked very briefly, but it was still good seeing him. Like those are some good guys out there.
Yeah, he it's funny. He not only, called, texted, and then, sent me reminder texts and I had 3 or 4 reminders. Where did Justin go? Oh, there he is. I had 3 or 4 reminders before I ever got my registration done and all that kind of stuff, because I am a member of New Mexico.
Mhm.
And so I kept forgetting. I've had so much going on. I just kept forgetting to do it. And finally I nailed it down and did it. But he was a little concerned I wasn't going to make it, but there's no way I would have missed it.
Who else
He's
is going? Anyone that we know? Like any other Texas Masons?
not that I know of. Don't know that anybody got invited.
Oh, okay. That's cool though. Let us know how it goes when you get back. That sounds like a fun time.
I will, for sure. In fact, I already talked to him about having a post Grandmaster show,
That would be good to have him
and
back.
where he's at, what he's thinking, kind of how he's feeling after being a Grandmaster. Now, I know personally he's had a journey, and he's ready to spend some time with his wife. I don't blame him.
Mhm.
But because there you may visit one lodge every other day, but heck, you're driving the same distance as Texas, going across Texas just to get to that lodge, because they're all so far apart, and they've all got desert in between. It's either mountain or desert, and it's a long drive when it's either mountain or desert. I can tell you, it's beautiful, but it's a long drive.
New Mexico is a very interesting state, just geographically, right? Because, like, if you're like me, like I don't care for desert, so it's either like beautiful mountains or like there's not really. I remember when I last time I went through New Mexico, I came out from Colorado, and we were in the mountains, and it was like pine trees. It was beautiful, and then you cross the state line, and it's like the highway drops in front of you. There's nothing. So it's
Yes.
like there was no transition. It was like trees, desert, and that's just all there was to it.
Yeah, wait till you go through the white sands. When you're traveling down, through the middle of New Mexico, and just following, hoping that you see a gas station at some point. you get a little nervous. You start hoping that you land in Area 51 so you can get some gas.
Yeah. The whole gas thing can be concerning for sure.
Or you can land in El Paso. You can end in El Paso all the way.
Yes, yes,
Hey, welcome.
yes. Yeah, I was just telling a brother the other day that, he asked, man, do you ever go to Las Cruces? I said, man, I go there at least once or twice a year. So, yeah, I love going to El Paso and Las Cruces. That's one of our favorite trips is that right there. And then we run over into Juarez when we do it, and spend a little time over there. That's always a good trip.
Nice.
So what's going on with people's lodges right now? Anything interesting?
Well, I just got back from my first Grand Lodge. Kansas had its Grand Lodge this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yes. How was that?
And that was really interesting. My first time there, and I'm surprised how many brothers I knew. So every time I walked down the hall, I'd run into 2 or 3 brothers I knew. Because I'm a officer in my lodge, I was able to vote. So that was interesting too. We had about 9 or so bylaws proposed. I'm kind of a nerd about that thing, so I did a study of our Constitution, the bylaws, to make sure that the proposed bylaws conflicted with current bylaws or were authorized by our Constitution. And yeah, there wasn't anything really ground shaking as far as bylaws go.
Gotcha.
Certainly nothing on the Texas level.
Right.
That's what I was about to ask.
Was there a bylaw proposal that talked about if you don't go to Grand Lodge, you have the potential to lose your voting rights?
No, it was if you're a member of there were ones that if you're a member of multiple lodges and you're suspended for not paying the dues in one lodge, you're suspended in all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had that for a while. Ever since we had plural membership, I guess they did that. They instituted that, or probably shortly after.
Yeah. It's just smart. Makes sense to have it.
Yeah, it's good business.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one was making EAs and fellow crafts, dues members paying. Right now, we don't pay dues until we're raised.
Mm.
That's the way we are too.
Okay, so wait, so it was a change to make it that way where,
Yeah, yeah. Right now, we don't assess dues on
okay,
entered crafts or fellow crafts, just masters.
I guess that failed.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Hmm.
How's it in Texas?
It's the same way.
That's how it
Same.
is in Texas, which I agree with, because really they're not really members yet until they're masters. And if you give people too much feeling of entitlement before it's really due, then why move forward?
Well, it's the
Well,
same.
the rationale for keeping it the same way was they're not entitled to vote in lodge on lodge activities. So it'd be kind of like taxation with our representation. But on the on the other hand, they're still our brothers. You know, we treat them as brothers.
They're
interact-
absolutely our brothers. Yes.
Absolutely. And if they
Yes.
pass away, they're entitled to Masonic funeral.
Yes, I believe in that. Yes.
There's a lot to learn about Freemasonry, I think, before you really should be voting on things, and you really should learn more about your lodge before you're really voting on things. Like you said, there shouldn't be taxation without representation, and so to charge dues and say you can't vote on things, that's not good. But you don't want them necessarily voting on things yet. It's also, and this isn't I know Brad, he's an exception to what I'm about to say, but you also usually don't want people running for the same reason, running through the line very quickly after they become a master, because they're not familiar with the fraternity in many cases. They don't really get the lodge, and I've seen it where it's gone well. Like Brad, I think he's doing a bang up job, but more often than not, it doesn't go well because
That's because he listened to our show and he wanted to learn about he wanted to know what he was a part of instead of just, jumping in the line. He wanted to know what he was doing and not look like a fool at the end of the day.
Well,
So
that's what I was trying to say without saying it, but I appreciate it.
Well, I'll just say it. I'll just say it.
I mean, but that's a good point, though. To be honest with you, like for me, I've been part of this group since I was at EA,
Mhm.
and most of the time I just stay quiet and just listen, right? Because it was even that when I was part the type of conversation, right, it was to that level, but it was sometimes too much for me that I don't even experience yet, or know what is the business part of the masonry.
Mhm.
It is, but I've been learning, and most of the time it was from here that I learned those topics. So once I sit down in my lodge, I got those aha moment. Oh, this is what the brother was talking about, So actually help.
Well, honestly, Gene, like I follow you on Instagram, and I know like you hadn't been here for a while. Like things got busy, but I saw the things you were doing Masonically, and honestly, I thought you just took what you learned and ran with it. Like you're just doing like you're doing good things, and like you come in here and you start talking about like the ages and things like that. Like that's pretty high level stuff.
Well, he
right?
was always able to have those
That's true
conversations.
too.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
he was
thank you.
always
So I, that's one thing I do know. But I'm glad that you took some of the nonsense that we throw out there and was able to make some use out of a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Brad kind of did the same thing. He was able to take a little bit of our BS and make something nice out of it. So that's good.
Yeah. But no, I saw your stuff. I follow you, and yeah, I've noticed you've been rocking it. So you're doing great stuff over in your corner of Texas too.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, speaking of bylaws, that's what I've been working on with OSO lately is we're working on the bylaws, rules, and regulations. And so fortunately I do have people that I can count on that are attorneys that can help me get things written up and stuff like that to make it intelligent. And really I wrote it all myself and then, just asked them to check it out and make sure that it was all legit. And they did, and it worked out. But, that's That's a task, man, especially when you haven't done it in years. I mean, it's been 6 years since the last bylaws change in at Oso Naval Lodge, which is way too long. And so this is just round one. And so once we get this done, then we start tackling some issues that probably won't be accepted quite as easily.
Bylaws are annoying to me, and here's why. Because and it's happened many times. I'll go to a lodge, and someone will bring up bylaws, and I'll say, "Well, where's our current bylaws?" And everybody would just kind of look around. I don't know. We updated it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. And then they dig around, or it's on the Grand Lodge, like the portal, and it's from like 1986.
It should be on Grandview,
but it's outdated. It's like they never upload the new one or send it in or something. It's like, oh my gosh. And I've seen this happen multiple times. It's so frustrating.
Here's one of the things. Unfortunately, our lodge has enough money we can do this kind of thing. But, one of the things we discussed is that as soon as our bylaws are approved, bylaws, rules, and regulations, we're going to go ahead and make a little book just like they did back in the day, and have all of that in a little book to hand somebody when they become a master, as well as the most current, and that'll be a symbolic nature, symbolic offering, and it'll have the basics in there of everything up to today. But, for the most current bylaws, they're going to be told to go to Grandview. And if they're not registered on Grandview, they have to register on Grandview to get the most current bylaws. We're also going to have we're going to recommend to have a pamphlet for anyone who wants to become a Mason. And it's going to list all the expectations of what the lodge expects as far as attendance and learning the work and engagement before they ever bring a petition in. They're going to be given this as part of it. And I'll send you this and show you what we're proposing. Because if any of the other brothers want it, just let me know. I'll email it to you, and you can see kind of what we're trying to do. There's other lodges that are doing some of this stuff, but a lot of this is our own through our committee discussions and the worshipful master was listening in at the same time. He wasn't able to speak. If he spoke, then I would give him crap about it, so he wouldn't say a whole lot. But well, you form a committee to come up with things to vote on, right? You don't form a committee to run it yourself.
That's a good point.
So but no, we get along great, but he wanted to see what we were talking about, what we were thinking, and he fully supports every bit of it, and hopefully everything's going to work out.
Cool.
But
Dennis, I love that idea of like, here is the clear expectation of what we want to see from you before we hand you a petition. This is what you're getting into. This is what I was telling Brad yesterday on our journey down to San Angelo a little bit about my experience. I'm like, man, I didn't even know there were degree fees from my lodge. Because I asked everybody, how much is this? How much is this? They're like $150. That's what our dues are. They didn't say anything about degree fees. And it's like, wait a second, that's a surprise. All of a sudden, you get there.
Dude, I'm in my underwear.
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to get this from?
Yeah.
I've talked to new Master Masons that were installed as junior wardens. And
we don't really get on our underwear, people.
And I mentioned degree fees, and he's like, what degree fees? I never paid degree fees. What are those? It's like, oh my God.
Oh,
so
my
you're
goodness.
right. It's absolutely. And here's the thing, because often like a lodge will have like a mutual, like a oral agreement. Like, okay, we're gonna make them wait at least like 3 months before we give them a petition. And then this happened at one of my lodges. We kind of had this agreement. Hey, these guys need to start showing up. And we had brothers that had done that. Like they came for like 4 or 5 months before they got a petition. And then we had a guy reach out to us on our Facebook page. And luckily I'm in charge of the Facebook page, so I was able to respond almost immediately. And he came by, and then the second time he visited, I was like, where'd you get that petition from? He's like, oh, such and such gave it to me. And it was an officer that
that good old secretary
No, it
Oh, I
wasn't
got these
secretary.
right here. You're gonna need this right away.
Yeah, and so, but the thing is, like, people that had gone through this process, so like, it's kind of, why did I have to go 4 or 5 months, and this guy got one the second time he came? So you got to have that consistency, and you achieve that by having that book, and someone wants to
Yes.
join, that's the first thing they get. Here's a book, and then if
Yeah.
someone tries to give them a petition, they're like, well, I thought I had to come here like several months. Like, why you give me a petition? Yeah, I like
Yes.
that a lot. Yeah,
Yes.
please share that. That would be very.
And then we've also got a mentorship program that we're going to instill, and it's going to be part of the rules and regulations with the mentorship committee. And then also, let me see, what's another good highlight that? Oh, parliamentary procedure, quorum and etiquette and parliamentary procedures. And it's not the one you find on etiquette and protocol that was made in 2023, I can assure you.
Yeah.
So we say first and foremost parliamentary procedures, and then on top of that, this is how you dress, this is how you act, this is how this is what the expectations are.
I like that a lot. I was visiting as district instructor with my district deputy several lodges, and there was one lodge, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, we didn't get out of there till 9 o'clock. They spent 45 minutes talking about fundraising, and that's because there's no parliamentary procedure. You stand up, you talk back and forth, and it just goes on. And there's no committees, or if there are committees, they're not used correctly. But it just goes on and on and on and on. And it's like,
Justin, did you come to my lodge?
it happens more often than it should.
Well, that was another thing.
Happen.
That's another thing that we discussed as a committee. I said, okay, so what's going to happen is, I'm the chairman of this committee. So what's going to happen is I'll read this out, and then I'll move to adopt this bylaw. And then the expectation is that the vice chair will second it.
Mm-hmm.
And then our oldest brother, that has a lot of respect from all brothers in the lodge, he's going to be the one to start the discussion. And then that way it also gives each one of us opportunity, because you're only supposed to use 2 minutes. And we discussed all this, that this is how we do it. And if we utilize it properly, then we not only have our first person discussing, then we have 2 times that each one of our other members of the committee can discuss, as well as me, and then we can hash through any questions that are had, so that we can get to the vote as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And so that way it's not wasting everybody's time, because it's a bunch of changes within the lodge. And it's not really changes for, just for change's sake. It's changes to lift up our lodge and increase the value, as well as the commitment of the brothers of the lodge.
Yeah. You got to have business, right? You got to have a business meeting. That has to take place. But if that's all you do, and if it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours, don't complain about why you can't attract or retain people. Because they're going to come and I did the same thing. It's just a business meeting.
Yeah.
With a bunch of ritual. And so if you can streamline that, include education and things that actually provide value, because there's no value to be had from a business meeting. I'm sorry. There's just no value in a business meeting. But if you could actually include things that provide value and you're respectful of people's time, that makes a massive difference.
Oh yeah, and we have education on top of the law reading and explanation. So whenever a law reading is done by the junior warden, if there's some kind of explanation or discussion, then we'll have a quick discussion and to get down to the intent of the law. But on top of that, we have education as well. And another thing that we went ahead and included is, we've got these expectations for our candidates, right? For our EAs, fellow crafts, and new master masons. And within those requirements, the expectation is that you're going to write a paper.
I love it.
You're not only going to attend so many lodge meetings, but you're also going to write a paper on what you're going through as you go through it, and that's part of the rules and regulations now, so that we're building up this thought that, you know, we're not only, you know, we're not just going through the motions, we're actually trying to learn something so that we can take it home and be a little bit better when we get home than we got there.
Now, is this per degree or is it just
Per degree.
per degree?
Yes.
That's smart. That's good.
And each level of you know, being an EA, fellow craft, and master, I mean, there's a certain amount of meetings that you're expected to make every year. You know, if you don't have that kind of commitment, and that's part of what's in the pamphlet.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that kind of commitment to make to learning the work and being a part of the lodge, to really become a part of the lodge, then maybe right now is just not the time for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need that for officers too. Like, hey, if you can't make
Oh, wait till you see the officer expectations.
cool.
I got that. We got that covered too.
How many
So,
pages is this whole thing you wrote?
It's really not that much, but it's a couple at 13 font. I mean, 13. Yeah.
So everybody can read it.
Not many spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody can read it. Not many spaces. And in fact, this part is all in red until I get it approved, and then I'll format it and put it in proper, you know, format to be done. But you're absolutely right. Too many lodges don't know what their bylaws, rules, and regulations are. I believe in giving people the little book, at least symbolically, when they become a master. That's one of the few things they should get. They should also get, you know, the all book, as well as their temporary dues card and the other stuff that they get. And like, I just ordered as soon as these brothers made it to turned in all their proficiencies, I just ordered their certificates. They are Master Masons, and so they have certificates with the signature of the Grand Master on it and the Grand Secretary, and so they're getting full-fledged everything from our lodge.
Very cool. Sounds
Yeah,
like they got a good secretary over there.
We're really trying to. Well, it's not just secretary. It takes a village, man.
It does.
And we are really working towards, you know, doing some better things. Than we want to be the example. And, you know, people are forgetting about South Texas, and, you know, Goliad is a premier lodge. People know it. Port Lavaca is, you know, becoming a premier lodge, you know, very quickly. And we want Oso to be the next one. And we want people to have a reason to come down and hang out with us down here in South Texas.
We have to start building lighthouse lodges in this state.
For sure.
I mean, and by lighthouse lodge, I mean it's a beacon of Freemasonry that you can see from a long distance. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. San Marcos, I mean, you were just there, Brad. That's Daniel. That's easily a lighthouse lodge. Hillcrest, that's a lighthouse lodge.
Yeah, I'd say San Marcos. Just visiting that lodge, like, put it in one of the top 10 Masonic experiences I've had. Just visiting the lodge.
Yes.
That's not including the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the presentation bumped it up to like top 5, right? You know, and that's just because it's hard to enumerate those top 5.
Yeah, it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat Dennis. I get it, but
hey,
John's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know, the Masonic Improvement Summit that happened in Corpus 2 years ago is one of those top 5 too. You know, so
yes,
plug to do that again. But
which Dennis and Justin did not speak at for a reason. We wanted it to be good.
Well, Daniel, you're at Roy City, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
I mean,
that's again one of those top 5. You know, like it's just that. It gets to the heart of what Freemasonry is, right? It's not the fish fries. It's not the let's just hang out and do a business meeting. It's let's get deeper. Let's get some education here. Let's talk about things that are different and interesting.
Yeah.
And be able to have those discussions. So,
And I feel
Yeah,
like
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick. I feel like that can't be stated enough, Brad. Like that event you held in Royce City. I hope to see something else like that, because, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, it's very narcissistic, I guess, but I put the summit up there pretty high as far as like Masonic experiences. Royce City's right up there, man. I mean, it was fantastic. It wasn't an all day thing like the summit, but for what it was. I mean, it's definitely.
It was a most of the day thing.
It was a most of the. You're right. Well, by the time I got done driving, it was definitely maybe.
Well, yeah, and just the thoughts that I had for days to come. I mean, anytime that I have, an event that causes thought like that makes me like Daniel was talking about earlier, him going down rabbit holes today based off of what he heard from John yesterday. I mean, that's anytime I can have that kind of an impact, that's what I take with me. And to be honest with you, these are the events and these are the lodges that I take notes from. We took notes from Holland Lodge. We took notes from Hillcrest. We took notes from San Marcos and Austin 12 even. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're taking notes from all these lodges that are doing things that just make sense. It just makes sense for us to be trying and doing these things as Masons.
It goes back to what we said about the importance of travel. You have to get out there and experience these lodges.
Yep. You have travel time and book time.
Yep.
That's all there is to it.
Oh, and I'll just plug that. I know Brad just came off YouTube, but like just sitting in the car with Brad for almost 8 hours yesterday. I got to know him on a totally different level. We talked masonry, we talked life, talked job, talked everything, yes. Right? I mean, I got to know him way better. Consider him a great friend and brother now. Did before, but even better now. And I just, it's a pleasure to be able to do that. And you don't get that unless you're with somebody like that.
Yes. And that's why we have those sit downs and drinks whenever we're, out somewhere. No matter what the event is, I always sit down with the Scott chapter and talk with my brothers and just hang out as long as I can. As long as I can keep my eyes open and we have a conversation going, then I'm going to be there. And it's not about the drink. I usually nurse, one glass of scotch for the night. But, Brad and I have done that. When I came up there for the event in Royce City, I went to his house and we hung out that evening and visited for a long time. We hung out over at the
Lexington.
At the summit. Yep, at the summit we hung out for a long time in the hotel, and that's what it's all about, man. Mm-hmm. It's that one-on-one.
Yeah, man.
In all fairness, I'm not very fun to travel with anyway, though. I'll be honest.
No, you snore way too loud.
Well, I'll just talk about the road trip. I went to San Antonio a few years ago, and it was me and Robert Marshall and Mark Myers and Rhett Moore and
Ritmore. Man, that would have been a great car to be in.
It was good, but
it was good for them, not good or not good for them, good for you, right?
Well, we'll be like going through Temple, and I'll be like, I know you're not about to drive past that Buc-ee's and not stop. I'm the kind of guy, like, if I'm going on a road trip, like, you stop at Buc-ee's, that's just a thing. So like, oh, I guess we'll hit on the way back then. I guess we're fine. But yeah, it was very interesting. You're right. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, those long road trips, they're awesome. They really, and that's something that happened with me early on that I strongly recommend to brothers that just want to travel around through the districts, their district and to other districts around their area, doing degrees and stuff, just travel together and go to a degree. We used to pile up in one of my older mentors' Ford Explorer. Actually, it was his wife's Ford Explorer and Expedition. And we'd get like 7 or 8 Masons in one place, and we just hash it out on the way and on the way back. And the great thing about it is that, nobody can escape.
Mhm.
So if something really gets hairy, you just got to work it through. You just gotta you just gotta see it through and try to make it. And I think that even though that we've kind of grown apart in our Masonic journey, as far as what really intrigues us today, we still have that bond to where, no matter what, when I see Mike, I'm gonna hug him and tell him I love him, because I do. And if it wasn't for those experiences going through that, with him and with the other brothers that we used to do that with, that just wouldn't be there. I mean, that's the brotherhood right there. I mean, granted, we can meet a brother all around the world for the first time and just embrace as brothers and know it and know that you're a brother. But man, you get that travel time with some brothers, and it really gets set in stone. It really does.
Speaking of travel time, I don't know. I don't think he had to travel very far, and I forgot to mention this earlier under like things going on. But one of my lodges I guess it was actually last Saturday. I don't think. I didn't mention it last Sunday because we had our book club meeting, but we had a master's degree at one of my lodges in Right Worshipful. Jerry Kirby came. And Dennis, I think you and I talked about it. Like, he gives an outstanding Bible presentation.
Yeah.
I had to give the master's lecture, which is my weakest lecture. I passed Grand Master, but he is like the nicest guy. Like, he was very supportive and everything. And I didn't mess up too bad, to be honest. Let's be honest, it was pretty good. But he was still really nice about it and everything. But it's been a while since I heard it, and his Bible presentation is longer than any lecture. Like any full form lecture. Like it's probably like a 15-20 minute presentation, but it is so good. I just say, like, if anyone ever gets a chance to listen in on it, it's a very unique presentation. It is good.
Nice. That's something that's another thing that I'm pretty proud of with our lodge down in Oso right now. We're ready for the Lexington.
Cool.
We can perform that degree on the Lexington, and we actually own all the regalia. We have all the costumes.
Remind me what happened with the Knights. They're just not doing it anymore.
Well, it wasn't that. Well, it's kind of hard for them to come down all the time and all the way down to Corpus to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal was always to try to get there, right? And for a while, that goal kind of got lost. And so now we've really, put some focus and determination and practice in, and we've got a pretty righteous degree team. I was pretty proud that I told the DDGM when he came to visit last month, I told him, I said, man, everything that I wrote on my report is true. If my lodge was screwing up, I would tell you my lodge is screwing up, because the Grand Master deserves to know what's happening in these lodges. Mm-hmm. However, we are proficient in every one of the degrees. We are proficient in this and that. We are updating our systems to be more technologically advanced. We're doing all the things that most lodges wish that they could do if they had the gumption to do it. And man, one of the biggest things is the ritual. We set ourselves up for success, and now this year when we board the Lex, then it'll be Oso doing it.
So you were talking earlier about your mentoring program. The on the Grandview there is that, and that this was mentioned at the Grandmasters Conference. They talked about, because we actually did that yesterday as well. We went to the Grandmasters Conference, and then from there we drove to San Marcos.
Nice.
Got a full day of masonry all around. And then they mentioned the Ashlar mentoring program that's on Grandview. It's like 189 pages.
Yes.
made up into 5 different sections. There's one for the mentor itself, and then there is one for a candidate that's about 15 pages that you can actually go through and talk to the candidate and go through with the candidate before he even gets initiated.
So is this like a
Which,
lodge program, or is
Well,
it is
that's
it
the
the
way
one
it's
where you,
supposed to be.
or is this the program where you have like someone that is assigned to you?
yeah, it's a mentoring program for mentors to work specifically with a candidate
Hmm,
all through his degrees.
gotcha.
Oh, well, see, we're talking about a mentorship program other than the teacher, other than the
Yes,
instructor.
yes,
And originally Kohanke and Williams, they had written a mentorship program, and that's the one that I used to teach. And I don't know if this is it or not. I need to look and see, but I think it's a great idea. And every lodge should be doing it
Oh yeah.
yeah,
because the instructor is not the mentor. The instructor is the instructor. The mentor, well, actually there should be a few different mentors in different areas of the Masonic journey.
I agree. Yeah, that's kind of why I brought it up is because I was at my lodge right now. I'm the instructor.
Hmm.
I'm the guy teaching the new guys, and I'm leading the. We do a Wednesday night group, like a study club.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I decided that I wanted to, because we don't have mentors either, and so I was like, well, let's read through this as a group, and I'm hoping out of that we will birth mentors that, and I could be the teacher. I can teach all of them. I don't care. There's some other guys that can teach, but they're a little rusty. Um, but I'm really hoping that this will birth uh, new mentors from the group. Um, and it's actually really good because it breaks down each little section of every degree from like the hoodwink, the why you take your shoe off, all the all everything, which is pretty cool.
Well, and that's some pretty good stuff. What I'm what my our mentorship program is based on, because we those are topics that we'll talk about in our lodge because we have our education program. But the mentorship that we're implementing in our lodge is more in the lines of we have a committee based on 3 to 5 members, and then um, when that guy first walks through the door, they get touched by these committee members, and everybody sits down and talks with them at different times and gets to know the guy, and you get to know the personality ahead of time, and they start matching them up with people in the lodge that have like personalities. Hey, have you ever met this brother? You know, he's in welding as well. This guy's in AC as well. Have you ever met this brother? And man, you like Aristotle? This is your guy. He loves Aristotle. He loves all the ancients, and just that kind of a thing, to where you're actively engaging um, members to befriend and um, and work with and get to know brothers and speak with them on different topics and not just the work. Let the work be the work, and then get to know them on different levels, and then that way later on, when he's not going so well on his proficiency and he's dodging his instructor, then the mentor calls him up and says, hey man, let's go have a drink, talk some philosophy. And they go have a drink, and then say, well, what's going on? what what's happening? Why are you falling short? You're so gung-ho. How can I help you? That kind of thing. That's more in the lines of what we're talking about, not necessarily being teachers as far as what stuff means within the degrees, because we do have education programs to do that. And while they're going through the degrees, I don't want to see where their headspace is at on their own, and not really influence them as far as what they should be thinking, or what they should interpret something as, or if that makes sense. I mean, I think what you're talking about is great, and every lodge should be trying to implement something along those lines to get the members engaged to support the young guys coming in the door. Because we forget that, being a past master doesn't mean we just come into the meeting and say nay to everything that the young master wants to get done. The past master's job is to come in and support the lodge and support the craft.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that from afar with Goliad. There's several brothers that call me, and I call them, and I try to help them along the way. I got a great call yesterday, as a matter of fact. Every time this brother, does something along these lines, he calls me up and says, "Hey, guess what I just did?" Well, yesterday he joined the Lodge of Research.
Cool.
And it's like, yes, well, you can do a paper on Goliad, but you can't do it on this member because that's the one I'm working on. But, that's the job of the past master. That's our job, is to support that membership and help them to grow the best that they can. But if it wasn't for some type of a mentorship mentality, that relationship never would have been.
Well, I mean, relationships go a long way. I mean, we're a fraternity, right? We call each other brother, and to call each other brother, not really work on building relationships and reaching out to people and offering that olive branch. I mean, we're kind of being hypocritical at that point. And a lot of us are guilty of that. A lot of lodges are guilty of it. I'll be honest, and I try to avoid this, but we've been doing programs on my lodge where there's quite a few people from the community in the lodge before our meeting. And my natural tendency when a room is crowded is to go to a less crowded place. And so, but the whole point of that is to interact with the community and to, be seen and things like that. So I have to conscientiously put myself back in there, because it's just, I don't even intentionally do it. I just find myself in quieter places. And if we're not, likewise with new people, if we're not matching similar personalities, we all know, I think, that it's very easy to sit in a room with 30 guys and feel like you're by yourself in Freemasonry. And I think that a lot of us do that in that same room. There might be 30 guys, and 15 of them may feel like they're isolated still. So it's very important that we work on building those bonds.
You know what? I feel like a dick. I'm sorry, Brad. You're talking about something cool you're fixing to implement in your lodge, and I just shit on it, and I'm sorry.
Oh crap!
I was just thinking about it while you were talking, Justin. I was thinking, man, I'm sorry, Brad. I didn't mean to do that. That's and now I just took us into a adult rating with YouTube.
It'll be okay.
But the reality is that if you're doing something like that, you're way ahead of the curve with a lot of other lodges, and you're creating value within your lodge. And I'm sorry for saying something like that. And I definitely shouldn't be trying to negate anything the Grandmaster is trying to get across to the craft. Not like I haven't done it before, but I really don't need to this year. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about everything that's happened, but I think he's doing all right so far. Pretty good.
No offense taken, man. I was just listening. But no, I'm just trying to get something going,
Absolutely. And you can kick in that other part too.
I didn't have a mentor. My mentors were you guys, and the guy that was teaching me, he was my mentor as well. Mm. I just saw people that I liked what they were doing in Masonry, and I did what they did. I didn't wait for somebody to reach out to me. I saw the stuff in Masonry that I liked, and I made sure that that's what I was going to do.
I want
and
to
that's really good.
I want to share an analogy based off what you're saying, Brad, because it actually happened to me very recently. In education, particularly in like star tested subjects, we do something called a benchmark, which is like a star equivalent test, and it gives us data to kind of see where the students are. Anyway, so we're in a science meeting, and my scores are higher than anybody else's. Just I'm not just tooting my own horn. I'm just saying my scores were higher than anybody else's. And some of the other guys were like, "Well, what can we do?" And I told them exactly what I was doing, and like, "Well, I don't really like doing that. I don't want to do that. I don't really like that approach." And so I was talking to my department head later, and I was like, "Well, why? If someone's doing good and you're not, you should incorporate what they're doing. You should at least try it." And she made the comment, "Well, that's why they're where they are and you're where you are, because you'll do that and they won't." And as soon as you started talking, it made me think of that, because that's what you're doing. You're looking around, seeing what other people are doing that is being successful and that you like, and you're trying to find ways to incorporate that into your lodge. And that's the difference between a successful worship master and an unsuccessful worship master. A successful lodge and an unsuccessful lodge, because you're looking around, you're traveling, you're seeing what works, you're seeing what you like, and trying to find a way to incorporate it. Right? You're not like, "Well, I don't want to." I've never heard you say, "I don't want to learn how to do that," or "That's not really my thing." You're always willing to learn. You're always willing to explore new things, and that's what we have to do. If you want to build those lighthouse lodges like we're talking about, you can't say, "Well, I'm going to build a lighthouse my own way," because there's only. I mean, lighthouses can look different, but it's a pretty specific concept that you have to follow to build a lighthouse. And just say it, like, you can build a really wide one if you want to, but it's not going to attract a lot of people. You need to build upwards, and you do that by looking at giants and standing on their shoulders and building off that. So hands off to you for doing something that a lot of lodges, they'll look around and they'll just, "Well, I don't know why we can't attract people. It's just people are different these days. It's just this generation, I guess. Nobody wants to join. We're losing members." But then you have lodges that are attracting people, and they're not necessarily in like urban areas. They're not necessarily in Dallas or San Antonio. Some of them are really rural or suburban, and they're doing really well for themselves. So you can't like point to like geography, or you can't blame it on like demographics or anything, because demographics have rich, poor, racial. It does not matter. If you're doing things right, you're going to attract people. It doesn't matter what the makeup is in that area, or how wealthy they are, or where it's at geographically. It's, can we adopt practices that work and actually provide value to these people to build up? So hats off to you for what you're doing.
Yeah,
Sorry. I know I interrupted you. I just had to get that out, because as soon as you started saying that, I made those connections. Sorry, Dennis.
we've got not to continue to brag, but we've got 3 new masters. We've got a new petitioner coming in, and we've had 3 people reaffiliate with the lodge in the past year. There's people are starting to hear about what's going on with us, and they're getting excited and they're coming back. And these are people that drop their they stop paying dues. I mean, they just drop their membership as Masons, and now they hear what's going on, and they're coming back. So that's pretty good. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
So anything that we can do to increase the value, that's what we ought to be doing.
Agreed. I remember when Brad first. I'm not just focusing on Brad here, but he's been with us for quite a while. And I remember when he first joined, or he first got installed, we were talking about the wax seals on the letters, and then like the next day, like, check out these wax
And
seals.
he went and did it.
Pictures. and then like same thing, like we had our book club meeting, and the next day he's like, check out all this stuff on Thoth I found out. It's like, dude, I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Speaking, Sorry, go ahead.
No,
You know
go ahead.
that wax seal thing.
Mhm.
When I put pictures about that on Facebook, that's what got me on that old fashioned Masonic podcast.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
So he
nice.
interviewed me on that, and yeah, I think it's going to go out in like June
very cool,
because he's
man.
got so many like episodes already recorded.
Yeah, he's got quite a few. I know
But
he's had someone else on here on there. I don't know if he wants everybody to know, but he was on here and waiting on that to come out too. So that's exciting, dude. Was it a good conversation?
yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was just like this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just a conversation. Like it didn't seem any different than anything else. It was just me talking to him, and I met him at Grand Lodge, so it was like we're friends, you know. Now, so it was good.
Very cool, man. That's very cool. Speaking of the book club, I was listening to I was debating on if I wanted to share it with y'all yet, but I mean the next chapter is just an overview of the 7 principles. I'm talking about the book club again. Um, so we talked about this podcast before. It's the whole rabbit. I was listening to their Kabbalion episode, and it's a really good overview, like a summary of the 7 principles. So I'm gonna share that. Knowing it, Jax, I'm gonna Dennis. I'm sure you probably heard it too. It might have been a while, but I'm gonna share that in our group because I think it'll give you a good perspective, like an outside perspective on this next chapter. Just to kind of give you some more talking points to discuss. So I'm going to share that to the inner circle group, and that way we have lots
Man,
of time.
you're worried about talking points. We had the most blah chapter of all, chapter 1, and we could have gone on forever with that chapter. But
Well,
I
really,
mean,
my concern
this
was I
is
didn't want to like go too far ahead, if that makes sense. Like I
well,
don't want to.
yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. You got to curb yourself. But hell, I've already read through it again twice since. In fact, I was thinking, man, did 1 chapter a month, is that just too little? But at the same time, if you wait and you give it that kind of time, then people can read through it a few times and let it resonate and come up with different things on each thing. And we don't have to take deep dives on all 7 principles either. I mean,
That's a really good point. All right, so it's almost 10:30.
but I love the whole rabbit. So don't get
good.
me
It's good.
don't get me,
I'm not huge on some of the
against
earlier
that.
stuff.
Man, I love it. I love their stuff. I mean, they're just so stupid and funny at the same time, but they're intelligent. They're brilliant people, but they're just stupid and funny. When you listen to them, you're thinking, golly, just a couple of stoners in a basement
Well, that's what I was gonna
somewhere
say. Like their
in their
early
mom's
episodes, are, like,
basement.
you can like hear them hitting the bong between like talking points. It's like okay.
Well, even if they're not hitting the bong, they still sound like it. It's just so funny. I love them though. I mean,
it's good.
I need to reach out to them and try to get them on the show because
That would be interesting.
they are awesome people. I'd love to have them on the show.
Yeah. Well, it's 10:30. Let's look at wrapping this bad boy up. Does anyone have any thoughts they want to share?
I'll jump out here. Just brothers, take the chance. Go travel a little bit. Go find some of those lighthouse lodges. I know. I don't know if Brad, you want me to put this out there, but I know you have a degree coming up at your lodge soon. If you want to share the date, that's a great thing to go do. Just go see those degrees. Go see those things. I know I've been. Justin, you mentioned traveling with your DDGM for his official visits as a DI. I'm a DCO. I traveled with my DDGM on his official visit. It was just great to see the lodges in my district.
Well, good job.
And within a week, I'd seen all 3 lodges in my district. And seeing those brothers, visiting with them, it was great to have dinner with them. Even better to spend a lot of time with Brad in a car, getting to know him as a friend and brother, and then going to one of the most impressive lodges in Texas, honestly. So yeah, just get out there, do those things, and it's well worth your time. I'm probably gonna have to take a break this week so my family can believe I'm still around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good time.
Nice, very cool. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah. So you mentioned we do have a master's degree. The Knights of Mecca are coming to my lodge, and we're raising a Master Mason on Thursday after the next Thursday, so the 27th. And then I just confirmed a date today for April 26th. I'm actually having the Shrine Band come and block the road off in front of our lodge we're in a downtown area, so they're going to block the road off, and they're going to play a concert, and then the local
Very cool.
shop will give out free beer, and I'm going to have the Rainbow Girls. I believe I'm going to try to get them to cook hot dogs, and basically the lodge is not really going to have to do any work, but we're going to share the money that we raise for this concert with the Shriners Hospital and the band, of course. Just they don't want to charge for their band, but they wanted like $100 for fuel for their truck thing. They have this huge trailer that they play at the state fair. They go around on the parade at the state fair every night at the state fair. And then the rest of the money that we share, that we're splitting, is going to go to our scholarship program. So basically, we're getting out. We're going to have a good time, have fun, and we don't even really have to do any work.
That's kind of fun there is, man.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice.
That's exciting. Anyone else got anything? Gene, Jeff?
No, just happy to be back here. That's it.
We're happy to have you back, brother. It's good to see
Yeah,
you.
for sure. For sure.
Likewise. I'm gonna try to keep coming more often.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I enjoy your contributions to our conversation. It's good to have you. Jeff? Going once? Going twice? All right. You got anything? No? Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have anything like huge to really share tonight. I'll be out most of the week, this coming week. If anyone tries to reach out, we're doing some camping, kind of recharge batteries and stuff, and Dennis can relate. Like I do a lot of Masonic stuff. I'm pretty active, so I gotta kind of haul away with my family periodically to reconnect with everybody. So that's what we'll be doing this week. We're going to a state park and doing some camping. But other than that, like I said, if anyone's going to be in Holland area, if you want to come to Zern this Saturday, I have to double check the time. But if you go to Zern's Facebook, they tell you the time and everything on their event page. But it'll be good. I'm not the only one talking. Brother Motts will be talking, and I believe David Bindle. I thought originally Pete Norman was going to be talking, but he's not on the list. So as much as I love to hear Pete, I'm also kind of relieved he's not going to hear, because last time I heard I saw Pete at a presentation, he poked a lot of holes in it after. It was a good presentation, and so I'm like, well, I'm kind of relieved. So, but yeah, that's going to be going on. But other than that, like it's looking pretty quiet. Look, hopefully it stays that way. But appreciate all of you. Appreciate everything you contribute. Like I said, Gene, it's good to see you. Jeff, good to see you again, brother. I'm very, very glad that Brad and Danielle went on that trip, because I could tell from both of your enthusiasm that there was a lot of value gained, and it just shows the importance of that travel time, putting that street time in, put some mileage on your car, going to a new place. And the thing is, like, if you want to be the best lodge you can be, you can't do it without going to the best lodges you can travel to. I mean, if you want to reach the full, it's like if you're training to be a coach, which I know nothing about, but if I was training to be a coach, I would look at the best coaches that taught my sport and saw how they did things, regardless of what state they're in, or I mean, if I can go and actually watch them work, I would do that. And it's the same thing with the lodges. We have to identify the best lodges in the state, and it's not a secret. Like they're not a secret. and put the time in and go travel and visit them and see how they're doing, see what they do different, see what their building looks like internally and externally. I know, like I said, I hadn't gone to Hillcrest. I know the inside's supposed to be really nice. I mean, I'm sorry, I haven't gone to San Marcos, but Hillcrest, however, I've heard many other people say the same thing. Like, you think you're in the wrong place because you're like, "Where's the lodge?" and then you just, take the turn
down
it's
into the quarry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, and from the outside, it's pretty inconspicuous, and then you go in, and again, it's a very nice building. And so there's a lot to gain from actually putting the time in, traveling, and seeing what these lodges are doing that you can incorporate, and letting go of the being willing to step out of your comfort zone, and being willing to disassociate from your ego, to acknowledge, hey, this works better than what we're doing. How can we incorporate that at our lodge? So that's all I'm going to say. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing y'all again soon in the next Zoom.
Nice. Well, I got a couple of things. Number one from this show: travel time and book time. We travel not just to give people information that we know, but we travel to remove our ego and absorb information from them, and take back best practices like Justin was talking about, and take it back to our lodge and into our lives. I can truly appreciate what Justin is talking about with connecting with the family. That I was able to do that this weekend, and then next weekend we're going to New Mexico, and thank God the girls are going with me, because I just wouldn't want to do this without them. And I think there's a time when we all have to review where we're at, and reflect. We can read as many books as we want, we can hear as much as we want, we can learn all that we can, but until we stop and reflect and figure out how to apply that in a positive way in our lives, it's all for nothing. So lately, I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to remove some of my ego and reflect on what I can do to implement the lessons I've learned into my life a little bit better. We're in this world of Facebook and social media to where the world gets the best of us at all times online. They always get our best, and all we see is the best from everybody else. So we're always comparing ourselves to the best of everybody else. But everyone else besides our family gets our best also. It's always smiles when we're online. It's always, rainbows and lollipops. We forget to let people know how real life is, and that we need help as well. And so, brothers, that's what we're here for. We are a brotherhood, and we are a brotherhood of priestly nature. At least we ought to be, to where we are trying to find our way back to God. And not that we're necessarily removed from God, but we are, until we realize how we're not. And then we realize that God's always within us, and it's only befitting for us to share that with our family. Brotherly love and affection is very important, but it also rolls into our households as well, and we need to keep that in mind. That's a lot of what my reflection has been lately. It's crazy of all things, I've been talking Kabbalion with my wife, and you know, how to apply all these different principles to our faith in God and the religions that we've grown up with. And it's pretty cool when we both connect on that level, and we both have those aha moments together, on the topics that a lot of times we reserve for just our brothers. So one of the things, and this has happened through reading the Kabbalion again, is one of the things that I'm really focusing on is equilibrium. You know, and the as above, so below. So with as within, as without. So the same things that I hold on to and cling to within Freemasonry, I need to mirror those things outside of Freemasonry in my own life, and cling to them with those who matter the most, the ones who are going to love me at the end of the day when I'm on my deathbed, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I love all you brothers, and I appreciate every one of them, but we got to keep those things in check. I'm glad Justin's being able to go camping with his family and reconnect, and you know, that's exactly what these road trips mean to me with my family. So travel time and book time, spend it with your brothers and spend it with your family. I strongly believe in it. Spend it with both, and not just one or the other, because we all get better together when we help each other, and when we remove ego from the equation. There's a program one time that I heard say ego was edging God out, and that's exactly what it is. When you're wrapped up with ego, you're forgetting about the love and affection that everyone around you deserves through your humility. So, brothers, I really appreciated this conversation. I can't wait. We had such a great conversation on Kabbalion, and I can't wait for the next one. I really want to bump it up to every 2 weeks because I just love it so much. We had such a great conversation.
Well, we probably could, at least with this book, but then we want to be consistent. Like some of these books might not be able to do that.
Right. That's the thing, is that, you know, some books we wouldn't be able to do that. So it's really a hard decision, but you know, we'll talk about it. But otherwise, I'm excited about my Freemasonry. I'm excited about my brothers, and I'm excited about my family. And I'm glad you're here with me in this journey, and look forward to the next time. Until then, keep it between the points.
Eat carrots and shoot lasers. Pew, pew, pew. See you later.
Oh my gosh.